Nkem, a young mother in her late 20s, lives in a quiet neighborhood with her husband and her two children named Chuka and Edeora. Behind closed doors, Nkem endures constant, emotional and physical abuse from her husband, a man who once promised her love but now only delivers cruelty. Over time, the trauma breaks her spirit. Nkem becomes withdrawn, bitter, and deeply depressed. With no outlet for her pain, she begins to lash out at Edeora, shouting, punishing, and neglecting her, unknowingly repeating the cycle of harm. Edeora, confused and scared, starts to draw pictures of monsters at home. Edeora learned to move through her home like a shadow, silent, careful, invisible. The two-bedroom flat in Port Harcourt was always humming with tension, like a wire pulled too tight. Her mother, once warm and full of laughter, had become a storm of bitterness and rage. Her older brother, Chuka, had stopped defending her years ago. Now, he joined in the chorus of blame. At 15, Edeora had mastered the art of disappearing. She kept her voice low, her eyes down, and her thoughts tucked away in the pages of her sketchbook. That sketchbook was a sanctuary. Within it, one cover lived a world far removed from the one she inhabited, a world where mothers smiled, brothers protected, and homes felt like safety. Her drawings were vivid and emotional. She sketched girls with wings, houses made of light, and oceans that whispered comfort. But she never showed anyone. Not even her best friend, Ifeoma, who often asked why Edeora never invited her over. Too messy, Edeora would say. My mom's strict. The truth was messier than any room could be. Every morning, Edeora woke before dawn to sweep the house, prepare breakfast, and iron Chuka's school uniform. Her mother would emerge from her room with a scowl, inspecting everything like a drill sergeant. If the yarn was too soft, Edeora would get slapped. If Chuka complained about his shirt, she'd be yelled at. If she dared to speak back, the punishment was worse. Nkem punished her with excessive house chores and using objects to inflict pain on her. All this manner of punishment that doesn't match the behavior made her very depressed and so quiet that she can't express herself, always feeling scared. School was her only escape. But even there, she felt like a ghost. Teachers praised her quietness, mistaking it for discipline. Only Mr. Bassi, the art teacher, seemed to see beyond the silence. You draw like you're trying to tell me something, he said one afternoon, holding up a sketch of a girl cowed in a corner, her shadow towering over her. Edeora shrugged. It's just imagination. But Mr. Bassi didn't believe that. He began to watch her more closely, noticing the bruises she tried to hide, the way she flinched when someone raised their voice. One day, Mr. Bassi announced an art competition sponsored by a local NGO. The theme was home. Edeora hesitated. She didn't want to expose herself. But something inside her stirred, a quiet rebellion. She stayed late after school for a week, working on a painting she never showed anyone. It was raw and haunting, a small girl sitting in a dark room, her eyes wide with fear. The walls around her were cracked, and through the cracks, light tried to seep in. Above her, a window showed a sky filled with birds, free, unafraid. She titled it, Home Isn't Always Safe. Mr. Bassi submitted it without asking questions. A month later, Edeora was called to the principal's office. Her painting had won first prize. The competition drew media attention. A journalist named Kemi Okon came to interview the winners. When she saw Edeora's painting, she paused. Did you paint this? She asked gently. Edeora nodded, eyes down. Can you tell me what inspired it? Kemi dug deeper. She spoke to Mr. Bassi, to neighbors, to Ifeoma. The story she uncovered was heartbreaking. With the help of the NGO, social services intervened. Edeora was removed from her home and placed in a safe shelter. Her mother was offered counseling and support. Chuka, too, was referred to a youth program. The shelter was quiet, but not in the way her home had been. It was peaceful. Edeora had her own bed, her own space, and people who asked how she was, and listened. She kept drawing. Her art became brighter, more hopeful. She painted girls standing tall, homes filled with laughter, skies that stretched endlessly. Her story was featured in a local magazine. People began to reach out, teachers, counselors, even other children who had suffered in silence. Edeora didn't become famous. She didn't want to be. But she became something more powerful, a voice for the voiceless. Years later, Edeora opened a small art studio in Port Harcourt. She taught children how to paint their stories, how to turn pain into color, silence into shape. On the wall of her studio hung her first painting, "Home Isn't Always Safe." Beneath it, a quote. "Even in the darkest rooms, light finds a way in." And Edeora, once a shadow, had become the light.